Hello there. Today I'm lucky enough to be tasting a Condrieu, so a white wine from the northern Rhone Valley in France. This is Domaine Jamet's 2016 Vernillon Condrieu. So Domaine Jamet are actually best known for producing Cote Rotie. They have 17 hectares of Cote Rotie in lots of tiny plots and very steep slopes. Predominantly they're producing Syrah there, but they have tiny amounts of Marsanne, Roussanne, Viognier there as well. So they built up an excellent reputation for their Cote Roties. The domain was actually only founded in 1950 when Joseph Jamet bought a tiny plot of vines and started selling fruit to négociants. He was joined by his sons, Jean-Paul and Jean-Luc, and on his retirement in 1976, the domain began bottling their own wines and selling and commercialising them. Now, there were obviously some changes went on in 2013, because at that stage, Jean-Luc, one of the brothers, left the business, and in 2015, Jean-Paul's son, Loïc, joined his father and his mother, Corinne, in running the estate. What happened in 2015 was that at that stage they bought vineyards in Condrieu, and they bought 20 hectares of vineyards on two sites. So one of them a site called Vernillon and the other in the Côte Chantillon, and hence the name Vernillon being a combination of those two site names. Evidently the soils here are completely decomposed granite, so they're very friable soils with very little topsoil, very free draining. We can be assured these are good sites for growing Viognier and making Condrieu. As far as winemaking is concerned here, we're talking about wines with low yields, we're talking about careful selection and hand picking. And here the notes I've got become inconsistent, because I've seen one suggestion that this is a wine that's fermented in oak and stainless steel and aged in oak and stainless steel, and then I've seen other suggestions that this is entirely aged in amphorae, and actually the producer's website suggests that the wine's aged in amphorae. So whether it's fermented in stainless steel and oak and then aged in amphorae, or whether it ferments in those amphorae, I have no idea, to be honest. But anyway, let's have a look at the wine and see what we've got here. The first thing I should note is that this is 2016, so this is actually only the family's second vintage producing Condrieu from these sites. And I was a little concerned that maybe actually 2016, it's an 8-year-old wine, how well would it have fared? And I was pleased to see that the colour is quite a vibrant, medium yellow colour, almost with sort of greenish hints there. It appears to be fresh from that point of view. The aromas are delicious, actually. There's quite a restrained fruit. There are notes of peach and pear, but they're quite delicate, and over the top of those there's a real mineral note, actually a salinity that's actually very attractive. But yes, and coming through from that, the peachiness actually, as the wine opens in the glass, is just growing and it's becoming richer. There's a juicy note to that, even on the aromas. So let's have a taste. On the palate, that's dry, but it's not sharp dry, it's dry and rounded. There actually is a lovely fresh mineral acidity behind the whole thing. But fruit-wise, there's a peachiness and a richness. This is not a big, rich, ripe Condrieu. To me, Condrieu appears in two styles, and the difficulty is actually getting Viognier ripe without having too much alcohol, because if you have too much alcohol starts to overpower the fruit. So the best Condrieux come from the best sites where this kind of level of ripeness is achieved without producing too much alcohol. Now, I was pleased to note this is only 13.5% alcohol according to its label. The flavours have that sort of richness, roundness, smoothness. There's a really juicy, almost verging on syrupy texture to the wine. That salinity that I noted earlier is actually keeping the finish going quite well. It's not a wine with, it's got fresh acidity, but it's not a wine of high acidity. It's not crisp, it's not sharp. But as I say, that mineral note, that salinity is following through to the end beautifully. And as it follows on, you're just sort of seeing those lifted, ripe peach notes coming through. So really pleased to see this is a wine that's aged beautifully. I mean, 8 years of age, it seemed as fresh and as pure as possible. Now, I'm not noticing particularly that there are distinct notes of oak about this wine, so my assumption is that aging has gone on in those amphorae, and that's actually probably what's enabled it to age so beautifully, and that it's got that sort of lovely purity, aged in a fairly protected state there in an amphorae. So when I looked at the Wine Searcher aggregated score on this, this only has a score of 92. I'm actually a little surprised. I mean, I think 93, 94 would be much more appropriate for that. As I say, I think it's exceptional Condrieux that manage to have this lovely fruit depth and ripeness without the alcohol, and that's what this manages. It's got lovely fresh acidity. I think if I was scoring it, I would score it a little higher than that. And certainly it's a wine I've very much enjoyed tasting. So thank you so much for joining us. I do hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, do please press the like button. If you'd like to watch more videos, the best way to do that is to subscribe to our channel, and you can get yourself notifications and everything like that. Please leave your comments in the comments box below. It would be great to know what you think about these wines, the videos we're doing, or anything else that relates to that. If you have friends who you think might like to watch, do please pass it on to them. I will leave a link in the notes below to the Wine Searcher website so that you can follow up on the page on this particular wine, and there'll be more details about the critics' scores, how the wine is made, its pricing, its availability, and lots of other details like that. So thank you very much for joining us, and I do hope you'll come join us for another tasting in the very near future. Thanks again. Bye for now.